This is Emily,
Henley,
and Sammy, and you're listening to Too Scary, Didn't Watch.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for joining us.
Of course.
And our first question we always ask is just, can you guys tell us your relationship to horror movies, like growing up, and if you've always liked them, or if there was a movie that turned you into a fan?
Yeah, I was completely avoidant when it came to horror movies. Most of my childhood. Although, and then for whatever reason,
you say that, but then you're like, and then when I was like 8, I watched this. And I'm like,
everybody has that.
That's not what we're little kids. Yes. Yeah. When I was a little kid, I was terrified of like watching anything that had to do with horror. Thank you for calling me.
No, because you were like a horror.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. 8?
I was a horror kid. But really, what got me into it was I think I was really scared about the idea of horror movies, and then I watched a lot of like behind the scenes about how horror movies are made. So I saw, all these guys like making puppets and the effects and like all the fake blood, and like that just made it so much more fun for me because I was like, oh, it's not. It like really put something in my brain of being like, oh, it's not real, and so like super,
very evolved for 8.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, such a smart 8-year-old.
It's all a fabrication, obviously.
Yeah. What was the mise en scène? No, I literally was like, I think my relationship with horror was that I didn't watch it as a young kid, obviously, because it was horror and I was always scared. And then watching behind the scenes made it less scary for me. And then there were just specific stories that I really like. To me, my favorite horror movies are the ones that aren't like the scariest, but the ones that have the best like stories. And the ones that I related to the most as a kid. So I loved like Shaun of the Dead was the first one to bring me into horror, because not only is it so funny, but it's like I don't know. I think it just does everything perfectly. Like every genre. I think like the movie is just like a perfect movie. So that was the first one. And then I also loved Let the Right One In, because I was like, I felt kind of like the kid in the movie. Like at that point in my life, I was like, oh, like a weird kid who was like
met a vampire.
Yeah, and then I met a vampire and we fell in love, and it was cool.
Which Let the Right One are you talking about?
Both. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Great movies.
I was sort of no, I was I was completely afraid of horror movies until I was much older than 8. I watched like Wizard of Oz when I was a kid, and it scared me so much.
The monkeys are
so
scary.
I was so scary.
I was afraid of the witch. I was not afraid of the monkeys. The monkeys I was fine with. Everybody, I've heard this. Everybody really scared of the monkeys. I was like terrified of witches, and then I read that book Witches, and that did not happen. And then as I got like older, like into high school, I mean, I loved Shaun of the Dead as well. And I'd watch some horror comedies, and that was a big one. But then as I got into high school, I started watching like The Thing was the first one. And I was like, oh, this is like absolutely spectacular filmmaking. And then from there, the first Halloween and a lot of the John Carpenter stuff. And then like Scream also, when I was in like maybe 8th or 9th grade, I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I was freaked out by it. It's not really a scary movie, but it still freaks me out. Those were ones where like, if I can enjoy it enough to it be worth me being scared, I'll watch it. And then after that, like in college, I lived with a bunch of my like roommates from film school who are giant horror buffs, and they showed me a bunch of, but I still don't like, if anything feels like upsetting to me, I'm just not going to watch it. I like to watch fun horror movies.
Because I feel like at that, when I was like a really young kid watching horror movies, like I wouldn't be able to handle, like there was a limit. Like I wouldn't be able to handle like, if you were to show me like Rosemary's Baby at that age, or like Hereditary, or like any of those sort of psychological, I think it would have truly, truly disturbed me.
Yeah.
And, like I just kind of watched the fun ones. It's like, I was like, but I do like the idea too of like, and I think about it a lot actually, where there were movies like kids movies or movies that were for families that are terrifying, that have terrifying like scenes in them. And I think people neglect that part. Cause like when people think about like, oh, what was the first time, you were scared in a scary movie? I'm like, well, all my memories of being terrified in movies like weren't
the Lion King. It was like
Lion King.
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio's so fucking scary.
Yes, so upsetting. It's like,
I just saw a clip about that the other day.
It's so scary. Like Never-Ending Story where he loses the horse. Like
so scary.
Matilda,
like kid.
Yes.
Dude, Harry. You know what actually really scared me growing up? Or not scared me, but just like really was like hit deeply for me was Harriet the Spy.
Yes, that movie really messed me up because it's like about bullying. It's about like social isolation.
Yeah, it's literally it's like a Nickelodeon movie that's like disguised as a movie that's like this really fun movie, but it's literally a Lord of the Flies movie.
Yes,
because what happens is, have you seen it ever?
No.
Basically, it's like this young girl is like really curious and like wants to be a spy, and then at the same time she's been like writing this journal about everyone, like kind of like doing a recon on like all of her classmates, and like kind of has like every idiosyncrasy like written down, and like also drama and her opinions about people. And it leaks, and like one of the friends finds it, and her entire school turns against her because they just think she sucks because she's like judged all these people. And so for the rest of the movie she's just like treated like total, it's like every child's worst nightmare. Like,
right.
I remember there's a scene where she's in art class and they're painting. They're like doing this painting thing. And then one of the the mean girls like gets up, and it's so real. It's like handheld. It's all on handheld. It's so real. She gets up and just pours an entire bucket of blue paint onto her. And
Yes,
sorry.
I remember that.
Like, sorry. And then like,
I mean, that's like straight out of Carrie.
It is everyone to keep messing it up and like to keep making it scarier. Is like then all of the kids come in and start like trying to clean her up, but they're all like aggressively like they're grabbing all these paper towels and they're like rubbing it all onto her even more. And she's like, stop. It's so scary. That
it's upsetting.
I'm being like re-traumatized right now remembering this movie.
It is a horror. Like it literally, when I think about it, that's a horror movie scene. Like
true.
100%.
This is how we prime children to be ready for horror movies. It's like just drip it in there in their regular content.
Like I think that there should be kind of like challenging things for kids and kids movies. Like
yeah.
Well, it was fun to see. I feel like in Hell of a Summer there are a lot of like homages to different horror movies like John Carpenter, Scream. Like what were your favorite? Were there specific ones you were thinking of when you were directing the film?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was I think like a rotation that we would talk about. Scream was one. Shaun of the Dead was also a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember like early on we would read the script, and that's kind of like inspired. I feel like Shaun of the Dead sort of the premise, or I guess the tone, really inspired our film.
The script of Shaun of the Dead was probably the biggest influence on this movie in terms of being like a sort of one-to-one comparison. That idea that it's like a movie that exists within a genre and like the horror genre and a subgenre of horror, but is really a character-driven movie about like somebody who's sort of forced to grow up. And that was and it being a comedy, and kind of the fact that the comedy is all coming from within these characters and they're like weird behavioral, all their issues essentially. But like stylistically, Shaun of the Dead was like, because it's so hyper specific stylistically, we didn't want it to feel like we were trying to make a movie that looked or sounded or felt really like Shaun of the Dead from a style perspective. And then, a lot of the movies we looked at was like, how can we make it kind of feel like one of those sort of camp slashers that we love, like that sort of weird, like cozy camp slasher like vibe, while also feeling contemporary and not doing like a film emulation thing, but being like, how can we light it? What can the color palette be that sort of evokes that sense of nostalgia without like hitting you over the head with it? But weirdly, like a lot of our sort of references visually came more from like the dramedy comedy space and like coming of age teen comedies or movies like The Graduate. I mean, our movie doesn't really look like The Graduate, but that was like a movie that we sort of were talking a lot about. The Howling, like
The Howling, like American Werewolf. And I think like it's striking the balance. I feel like for us, where we, as much as we wanted it to feel like Scream or like Sleepaway Camp, we also wanted it to feel like Freaks and Geeks. So,
Fun mashup.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we even like Abby Quinn, who plays Claire in the movie, like we were kind of her characters. I mean, it's not a very similar character in any way, but like we took inspiration from Linda Cardellini's character from Freaks and Geeks, and like,
Right.
and just these groups and cliques and stuff. So yeah, we definitely, I think, had a lot of different inspirations from a lot of different genres and movies. I mean, for one thing that I loved so much is Paranorman, the Leica movie. That was a gigantic like influence, like as far as like score went, because there's like a real sweetness to that movie and a real sweetness to like the score, and weirdly kind of a grandness, like an epicness to it. And at the same time, it's really good at doing this more sort of campy 80s Carpenter style thing. So we just looked at just movies that we loved, and tried to put a little bit of that DNA into the movie as much as we could without it seeming like we were stealing a bunch of movies.
It feels that way. And it feels like you said earlier, a horror movie that's wants you to have a good time. The three of us have very different relationships to scary movies, and Sammy loves movies that make you feel like absolute shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel bad ever. And neither does Henley. So we were really thrilled I love the horror genre, but I won't watch it if it's going to make me feel terrible. So to get a movie that is still hyper violent, following the horror tropes, you're getting slasher murders, but it's like, we're having a good time, right? Is like such a treat to be able to be given that. And so you kind of answered it, but like, what are you hoping people can take from this movie? Like, are you hoping that it is wider than just a horror audience?
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. I think that there's stuff in there that horror fans will like, because again, it does have those elements and aspects of like a classic summer camp slasher movie. And there's some really cool practical kills that we've done. But at the same time, like the heart of the movie for us was always this relationship and this character who's sort of having to leave this aspect of his like childhood behind and step into adulthood. So we really wanted to make we really wanted it just to feel like there was something for everybody. And then it kind of spoke to these universal feelings that I think, every young person goes through throughout basically history.
And every older person remembers.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. This is sort of like sidestepping your question, but a part of the reason that we wrote the movie is because we're young actors. We've read, a million scripts written about teenagers today. And we were teenagers when we wrote this movie. And it was like all of them were trying so hard to like speak to some new problems that teenagers now are having that nobody else has ever faced. And they're like trying to chase what's like kind of hot. And it just always felt so pandering and like inauthentic, like
and
both pandering. Yeah. And then immediately dated by the time the movie comes out. So we wanted to make a movie that felt like authentic to our experience as young people, but also in the sense that like it was completely timeless. It's a movie about being insecure or like leaving parts of your life behind, or like trying to balance a new relationship with like a friendship. And then at the same time, it's also about like surviving this murderer. But we'll watch movies from the 60s and like relate to what the young people in those movies are going through. And it's like teenagers now aren't actually that different than teenagers were in the 50s. It's like there's a lot more in common than I think people like to admit.
There's just more bells and whistles and insane distractions from it. Like,
right.
I personally, I'm not even joking. I want people to bring their like grandparents to this movie. I want people to go and like, because I really do think that there are scenes in this movie, like even if they don't, even if you bring your grandma, I totally understand if it wasn't her thing.
My grandma, I don't think my grandma.
Yeah, no, I think that there's things in it. There's sweet scenes in it that I think people would gravitate towards that like aren't necessarily horror fans. That's to me also like, to me exactly, when we talk about a movie like Shaun of the Dead, like that movie is so like emotional and so sweet, and characters love each other or like have so much love for, like the director has so much love for his characters.
Yeah.
And the characters care so much about each other, but also like their own kind of selfish things, which is relatable. And so to me, that's like what makes like such a good, fun movie to watch with your friends or with your family, because you all relate to it. Anyways, but
yeah, there are a lot of, I think, horror comedies that have a tendency to be very cynical or like pessimistic or kind of look down on their characters or just be like treating them as ways to get to a kill and making them unlikable. And we really wanted to, like, I have a lot of love for every character in this movie. And what we wanted to do is write characters that felt real and funny and like likable enough that you're rooting for them, but also not too likable that if they do get killed, you like,
Right.
You're okay.
It's like finding that balance of being like, oh, this person's like fun and a little bit annoying and I can kind of sympathize with them. And if they die, like I won't be heartbroken about it.
Yep.
Yeah, we never wanted it to be like looking down on like young people or looking down on people in general. Like there's a sense of like kind of optimism in this movie, and especially coming through the main character, that like really excited us about making it, because I don't know. Yeah, I didn't want to make like a nasty, like, oh, isn't this funny? All these people are getting killed. It was like I wanted it to be funny because of who the people were and the way that they're responding to everyone getting killed.
That's sweet. I wish all horror movies were like that. Unfortunately.
Yeah, not all of them are so optimistic, but it is nice to get one that has that tone.
Yeah, that makes me think about, okay, so Sammy, Emily, and I are best friends first, and then we have this podcast second. And you guys are friends like outside of working together too, right? So how is that? Like, what's that like working together, also being friends? Is it like really fun? Do you guys have like a clear way of like dividing responsibilities? I mean,
yes and no. Like, I feel like we've always had like just a great shorthand. And I think like, because we're both Canadian, we're kind of conflict like avoidant people, or I would say that I'm like a conflict avoidant person that like doesn't love if like, you know.
I like how you avoided conflict there by not.
Yeah.
That's good.
Or not both. I am.
Yeah.
I won't speak for him, but my feelings.
No, but, like literally. So, but I think like getting better at like having those kind of like conversations that aren't even like a big deal at all, but just like, even if there's like a little conflict or a little disagreement or a little, like, it's just important to say it.
Yeah. It's so hard. It's like everyone says that, but actually doing it is.
Dude, it's like, it's the worst feeling ever. And I'm like only really like doing it like with all, like everyone, all friends and even family and stuff. Like you get a little older and like you just have to sometimes like say stuff that it goes against like what you want to like please your friend, and you want to like do exactly right by the movie and your friend. And then like sometimes, something will come up, and I'd say like we're both very good about it because we both just talk. And I mean, even yesterday I texted him being like, hey man, I'm tired. I think I need a break.
Yeah, we all do.
Like after this movie, or like after, because we're producing another film, but I was like, I think, and like, I don't know. It was very like touching because, you know, we care about each other first. That's the same thing as like just care about each other.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times, throughout the process of, we made this movie for a long time, and like there were elements, like there were periods of time when it's like, as a friend, I just would see like, oh, you're not in the headspace to be doing this right now. And then if that was the case, we just put it away for a little, like it wasn't the type of thing where like, I think because we were friends first, it allowed us to make the movie in the way that we made it, and like, in a very scrappy way. And I think you sort of feel our friendship with Fred, which like really, really, really developed over the course of this movie, and everyone else on the cast. Like I was friends with Abby beforehand, but like there is a sense of like camaraderie and like fun that I think,
and family, honestly,
it's a lot easier because we're actually friends. And then like it does make it. As you guys all know, there are challenges. Like there's a reason that people obviously don't always mix business and friendship. But this is a movie that was really sort of born out of our friendship. And then just to like when you text, I don't want to air out our company too much, but when you texted, I was like, yeah, I know. Like, and I was like, I think I texted you like, I was going to ask, I was going to tell you, or like, not tell you.
Right.
After, this week, but like, cool. Yeah. Sounds good. So I think it is helpful in a lot of ways.
It is. It's
Yeah.
like very, because then it's like, yeah, I don't know how you guys, don't like delineate stuff, but like, is that the word delineate?
Yeah.
That's a word.
It sounds right. Yeah.
Sounds right to me.
The word is the word. Yeah.
Like 85% chance.
Yeah, yeah,
got
that's
it right.
probably, yeah.
None of us batted an eye, seemed right.
Good. No, yeah, just the idea of like, working with friends. Like, I don't know. Everyone like kind of deals with it differently. And I think we've like done a pretty like, I would say like great job like with each other. I'm like proud of us for sure.
Yeah.
I think that helps too. Like if you leave it feeling like your relationship is stronger, or that you can be proud of each other in addition to proud of the thing you're making.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's the thing that will carry you through.
100%.
Yeah. And I think, I'm speaking also now from our experience, but like having to have those more difficult conversations with a friend, I think strengthens the friendship as well. And so I feel like, I think working in a positive environment creates better work. And so it's like, in a way they can have a positive feedback loop as like improving the friendship and improving the work. But there's obviously challenges as well. But
Did you
working with friends is great.
It's great. We love it.
Not to air it out here, but
No, keep going. That's what this is for.
I am replacing you with Timothy Chalamet.
CGI Timothy Chalamet's face?
Yeah.
Did you guys have a favorite memory from set? A favorite thing that happened?
That is a great question. I'm trying to think, because I've said like a favorite scene that we've done, and I've sort of said the same thing a couple times in the last couple of days. And I'm trying to think if there's something that was like almost unrelated that was really fun.
There were moments, I mean, dude, like there's so many moments from the film that just have to do with like planning and like planning and talking with crew and that
logistics.
That sticks so hard in my mind. Like I remember there was one time, something that comes into my head was there was a big conflict. It wasn't actually a no, I would say it was a conflict.
I think we have the same thing that we're thinking of.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, no, that's good.
Okay, well, there's a few things. It's like a few things. We also like, that is the other thing. Like going back to talking about like conflict aversion and all this stuff, like directing and filmmaking, like forces you to do that and to have like, more difficult conversations with people, because in order to get what you want, you just have to do this. And also like to be honest with people in that scenario is like really important. So there were like many times where there would be disagreements with specific crew and they were amazing, by the way. Like we really had like people that were like helped us immensely. But sometimes, you get into something and there's a conflict. But I remember specifically there was this scene near the end of the movie that I won't totally spoil, but there's like, it involves like Billy being thrown through a ping pong table, basically. Not basically, he was thrown into a ping pong table. And we got into the room to like scout it, like after it was dressed and everything, and the production designer adjusted everything, and like the ping pong table was like so thick and like it had like jagged metal edges like we were just like, oh, he's gonna die.
Like that's dangerous.
So dangerous.
Every flimsy ping pong table ever.
Yeah.
You know how they basically are always falling apart no matter what?
Why do we have the most like industrial strength, with line with,
you know what it was? It was almost like it was
there's no way that I'm gonna be able.
It was like an Olympic style, like, and like that's just the one that like either that they had sourced or like the only one that they could find, I guess, in the area.
And you're like, go on Facebook Marketplace, like go on Craigslist.
Get some cardboard. Let's just put something together right now.
You guys are literally like saying like word for word exactly what we were saying. And then I remember it was just the funniest thing ever. Like you have like meetings about this. Like we have like, a like a crew meeting about like this ping pong table. And I remember just being like, I can't believe we're having a meeting about this.
It's a bunch of adults discussing ping pong table thickness.
Yeah.
Well, just like no one knew what to do. Like it was like, oh yeah, we just got this thing. And then Billy and I were like, can we just like put balsa wood on top of it or something, like cut it in half? And then our director's assistant, who's my like childhood best friend who I've known forever, who's like a huge character and like really was kind of our Swiss Army guy who kind of just like jumped between all these different departments, like in order to make things smooth, was like at the back of the room and was just like, I know what to do. And okay. And he just like,
he like took it upon himself to basically make the ping pong table like safer for like me. And really it was more of my, like
no, you were thrown through.
I was thrown through, but not in the way that my stunt double was thrown through it. So like, it was beyond,
But you care about him too, presumably. So.
You're right. You want him to be as comfortable.
This guy was cool. This guy was cool.
He was probably like French Canadian guy, and I'm not going to do the voice, but he was probably like, I'll fucking go through anything.
Throw me a table I can't go through. I'm not worried.
I won't.
Yeah, I won't.
Let's figure that out. Yeah, I had one, and this is somewhat similar, but it's just something that I've taken into it. There was another like, basically like something was supposed to happen. It didn't happen. Something fell through, and I'm being as vague as I purposely can. And like somebody came up to us to like break the news to us that the thing that was like supposed to happen and had been planned on happening like wasn't going to happen in the way that it was supposed to. And they like danced up to us awkwardly to try to make it like more of like a friendly like conversation. Like we were going to say something that like was going to upset us. So they like get up and away from us.
It was like, have you guys seen like extras? Like, have you seen extras?
Yes.
Like it was like that. It was like a scene from extras, and I remember being like, I was looking at Billy, and Billy, it was behind me, like the our crew member who was like trying to like smooth things over, was dancing up to us, was doing that, and Billy, as you're talking, Billy just goes, "Oh my God, don't turn around."
Like, and they're dancing towards us. And this person is dancing towards us right now. But now I've taken that into my, like, I'll do that as a bit sometimes, bro. Like dance up towards, like,
you're not gonna like what's coming.
Yeah, no, it's such a funny way to break terrible news. Like,
it's actually genius. I'm kind of like, if this person, I want to talk to them.
No, I know. It was also it was so like I was not expecting it at all that it was just like, okay,
like disarmed by it.
So disarmed. Like,
and there you go. Yeah, that's
that's
the goal.
Yeah.
I was a little bit like, and that is just the nail in the coffin. But it was funny still.
But it was definitely like all that was a part of it. Like it's made it so fun.
The most stressful, frustrating aspects of making like a low budget independent film in 19 days. Like we were having a blast. Like we were laughing at ourselves, getting annoyed at things because it just was funny. Like us having this big issue about a ping pong table, like is funny to have a bunch of like professional people who we really respect all like putting their heads together. So the ping pong table.
Yeah. Made us laugh so hard.
Yeah. And so there's all like great, obviously one of the most rewarding, fun experiences of my life. But like the fact, I think it circles back to us being friends, like having a person that was on set with you as your like partner and teammate in this, it makes it a lot easier to like laugh about how sort of ludicrous some of these things feel.
Yeah. And how
like, you feel like isolated.
It gets you out of your head. Like,
yeah, definitely.
And there's also one more thing that I remember happening, which was that we kind of had like this guy who was a special effects special effects like on set supervisor who was kind of like the mascot of the film because he was like so unbelievably sweet and like a real character. But there would sometimes like be scenes where there would be like atmos, like smoke in the air and haze. And there was one time where we were in the woods filming a scene, and he had his kind of second in command, like running around with a little smoke pen, like running around back and forth on the thing. And I just remember it being, he said something sarcastic, like his second in command said something sarcastic to him because we like had to roll. So we're like, oh, can we get so-and-so out of there? Cause like we need to start rolling. And then he said to the friend, the special effects supervisor or whatever, said to the friend, like, so-and-so, you need to get out of there. And then he said something kind of sarcastic and biting.
A little sassy.
And then the supervisor just said, over the walkie in front of everyone, he was like, what is he say? He said like subtlety is appreciated.
Oh yeah. There was something so funny.
Subtlety is appreciated, Ray. Yeah, that's what it was. It was so funny.
Don't like a religious way, but it was all.
Oh,
It was a ton of fun. It was like nobody was like sleeping. Everybody was like up all night, every night. We'd go. We were all like staying at this weird, not weird. It was actually quite lovely. This fishing lot, like not too far away from camp. Eating breakfast, like the sun comes up, we go home.
Well, ours
shooting
wasn't
overnight.
lovely.
Well, yeah, but let's not even dwell on it. We were in like a beautiful, like Victorian.
No, not even to complain.
And we were in like 2 trailers
With rats in the wall.
parking lot with rats in this.
Maybe it added to the horror vibe.
Yeah.
Get you
No,
more.
really, all these things that we're talking about, like, I don't want it to sound like they're like, like, oh, like complain, like they're just a part of what it was.
Right.
The process.
It's a lot of fun.
It was so fun.
Like, yeah.
So, I mean, it's funny because you asked that question a long time ago and we've been rambling, but like,
No, it's great. I love it.
There's so much stuff that comes back that's like, sometimes like doesn't even have to do with like the scene work or shooting. It's more just like the experience around it or the process around it.
I feel like that always comes through in a movie. Like if you're having a great time, if you hear about the actors, the crew having a great time, I feel like more often than not, you can tell like on the screen, like and I feel like that comes through in Hell of a Summer. It was just so much fun to watch. Yeah, seriously.
After you guys are rested and have a break, do you think
Which
you'll
we really support?
We really support. It's important.
We
to
love
be
to
well
rest.
rested. Do you guys think you will be writing and directing more horror? Or are you switching up genres?
It's funny. Like, to us, it really depends on the premise of the film or the story of the film, the characters. Like it always comes from characters first, and whatever genre I think fits the vibe of those characters, thing that it ends up being. So, I mean, we have a movie that we're developing that is another horror comedy, and that's like a pretty specific movie because just again, like of the 2 main characters in it, and I won't really give it much away, but it's more of like a pretty personal story and it makes sense.
Yeah, it's like it's not dissimilar from Hell of a Summer, but it's like its weird cousin.
It's
So there's something
crazier,
but yeah, it's way like zanier and kind of. I think
it's really fun. I think if it gets made, but
then other than that, like I've always wanted to make like comedy movies, dramedies. Like I think that every movie I'd make, I would hope would be somewhat funny because I just think that people are funny. Like I just think that people are weird and funny, and that how serious the movie is, there's like usually opportunity for like something to be funny about it. But yeah, I truly don't know. Maybe I'd kind of want to make an action movie at some point.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
That's Emily's bread and butter.
Yeah,
Emily's obsessed with action movies.
I'm pretty genre agnostic as well. I really want to make a music movie.
Cool.
And
musical?
Not a musical. I could
A
make
music movie.
like a music, something that heavily involves either like a band or someone that is a musician.
Or like a slasher.
Is there a slasher movie? Oh, slasher musical? Kind of. There's one that's called Phantom of the Paradise. Have you guys seen that movie?
No, never even heard of it.
The Phantom of the Paradise.
I know the poster.
Yeah. So the poster's like, I don't know if you guys Google it when you want. I think you probably will. You will probably recognize the poster. It was like the OG.
Oh, whoa. Yeah.
It was like the OG kind of Rocky Horror, like that. It's that tone.
Yes.
Cool.
It was like, I think made, I don't know, 2 years before Rocky Horror, and it's Brian De Palma who did Carrie and
Oh yeah.
everything. And so it's so weird, and it is kind of a slasher actually. So
It's musical though.
and it's musical, but
I'm sure there's actually been a ton of slasher musicals. I just haven't.
but
seen.
I don't think that really happened.
No, but I'm sure that I'm like almost positive someone's like, we got to make a slasher music, and you just never seen it, probably for a reason, because musicals are hard to get right. They're hard to get right. But you know what? Someone else who's listening, make the next great slasher.
Phantom of the
There you
Paradise.
go. Call to action.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Paradise is very underrated, and I actually prefer it to Rocky Horror.
I'm going to watch it. This is
adding it to the
exciting.
list.
I feel like I want to call it this. Can I do it, please?
Can you make the movie?
Oh,
Sure.
yeah. No, she wants to recap.
I want to recap it.
That's the fun thing about horror, but movies, but horror specifically is like, we can never have too many. Like life is scary. There's always going to be more room for more ideas. And it's just exciting to see more and more great horror movies getting made. So thanks for making a horror movie.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
For watching them and talking about them.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And yeah, congratulations. I hope everybody listening goes and sees this movie in theaters because we all know that horror is best in a theater with a crowd.
Especially a fun one.
And a fun one. You guys are going to have a good time. So go see it.
Bring all your friends, make it an outing.
Bring your grandma.
Bring your grandmas.
Yes.
Grandma.
And you guys take a good long rest.
Take a little rest. You deserve
Will
it.
do.